Welcome to your online source for calculator tutorials. In this tutorial, we will learn how to use the InverseNorm command to compute the x value corresponding to an area or percentage p on a normal distribution. We think of the value p as being a percentile, and the x value we are finding is the data value which corresponds to that percentile. For these calculations, we will be assuming that the mean of the distribution is 100 and the standard deviation is 8. Alright, for the first calculation that we're going to do, I want you to find the data value that corresponds to the 90th percentile on a distribution with the mean 100 and standard deviation 8. In order to do this, we need to locate the distribution menu, second vars, and we want to be using the InverseNorm command. Generally, when you're finding a data point that relates to a percentile, this is the command that you're going to be using. So go ahead and hit 3. The InverseNorm command has 3 arguments. The first argument, p, always refers to the percentage of data below the desired data value. Now, I can't stress enough that it's always the amount below the data value. In this case, I'm asking you to find the data value that corresponds to the 90th percentile. So I'm telling you there's 90% of the data below the value I'm looking for. Therefore, the first argument is that percentage, 90% below. We enter it as a decimal, so I enter it as 0.9. Alright, the next 2 arguments, just like with the normal CDF command, you have to tell it what distribution you're working on. And I said for these calculations, we're on a distribution with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 8. So you can go ahead and enter it as I've shown. Alright, upon hitting enter, we get the value 110.25. So basically, a score of 110.25 on this distribution corresponds to a score that has 90% of the data below it. Alright, let's do another calculation, and in this calculation I want us to find the data value that corresponds to the top 28% of the data. In other words, I want to know what point separates the top 28% from the bottom 72%. And it's the bottom 72% that's the important part here. So let me bring up the InverseNorm command again. Second vars, number 3. And this first value that I'm going to enter is the percentage below. So let me read the problem again. Find the data value that corresponds to the top 28% of the data. Do not enter 0.28. That's the amount of data above the data point I'm looking for. Below the data point would be 72%. So you need to enter 0.72. Follow it up with the mean and the standard deviation. Alright, if we hit enter, this shows us that if I look at 104.66, this is the value that cuts off the top 28% from the bottom 72%. We would call this the 72nd percentile. Alright, this concludes the using the InverseNorm command tutorial. Feel free to replay this tutorial or browse any of the other available topics on the course webpage.